Okay, we're going to look at punctuating dialogue. So in order to punctuate dialogue, we have to first understand what dialogue means. So when a character in a story talks to another character, that is dialogue. So whatever the person is saying is their dialogue. When you use dialogue or you're writing down dialogue, you have to use quotation marks before what they said and at the end of what they said. So our example says Mr. Simons said, "We're going on a field trip." So Mr. Simons is the character or the teacher in this example. And then he said exactly, "We're going on a field trip." So that is what is in quotation marks. And notice that the quotation mark goes after the punctuation at the end of the sentence. So your quotation mark goes before, so at the beginning of what they said, and at the end of what they said. "Hooray!" the class shouted. So again, the class just said hooray. So at the beginning and the end with their punctuation in there. When a speaker's words come last in the sentence, you use a comma to separate the speaker's words from the rest of the sentence. So, Myra asked, comma, quotation mark, "Where are we going?" Question mark, quotation mark. So all she said was, "Where are we going?" But because we were writing it down, we had to say who she was and that she asked it. We gave a comma to separate who said it and their quote. Mr. Simons answered, "We are going to the National History Museum." Notice the comma and quotation marks at the beginning of what he said and at the end of what he said. Now, for a hint about how to punctuate dialogue, the end punctuation after the speaker's words should be inside the quotation mark. So just like I told you up here, the punctuation goes inside the quotation mark if that is where the end of the sentence is. So a correct example is that, "It's a dog, isn't it?" Question mark, then the quotation mark. Incorrect would be, "It's a dog, isn't it?" Quotation marks, and then the question mark. So, if we look at these examples, "I am so excited about our trip to the museum," Janie said. We would put quotation marks starting at I, and the quotation mark after the exclamation point, and then Janie said is who said it, so it does not get a quotation mark. Carlos asked, comma, and then the quotation marks, "Do you think it will be boring?" Question mark, and then add the quotation marks. Then Justin explained. Our comma would go there, then our quotation marks. "It's a chance to go someplace new," quotation marks, after the period. "I think we'll have a great time," Tanisha added. So quotation mark at the beginning, quotation mark after the exclamation point. All right, so just to review this quick lesson, when people speak in a story, it is called dialogue. Whenever the story lists exactly what the speaker is saying, the author uses quotation marks before and at the end of the quote. When someone is speaking and it's dialogue, or we're quoting what they said, we're going to use those quotation marks. Quotation marks look like floating commas. They float in the beginning, they float at the end. The author also uses a comma to separate this quote from the rest of the sentence. Punctuation goes on the inside of the quotation marks. Here are two examples. "I saw your dog outside," Bill yelled. Carla said, "I want to go to the park today." Notice that the quotation marks are just around what they said. And that Carla said comes at the beginning, so it gets a comma after it because it's not part of the quote. All right. Again, this is punctuating dialogue. Dialogue is what a character in a story says to another character. It is separated with quotation marks before and after the exact words that that character says. If that speaker's words come last in the sentence, then you have to use a comma to separate who the speaker is from the sentence. Like, Myra asked, "Where are we going?" And then again, that ending punctuation that comes after the speaker's words needs to be on the inside of those quotation marks.